Nightly, Latrell is out. Are fans relieved? We've got team coverage on the coaching change.
Plus, we're nearing record-breaking temperatures for your forecast this week. I'll have the full details coming up.
And Texans take to the polls, how long early voting lasts in the Lone Star State, and when it starts in Oklahoma. This is OU Nightly.
Thanks for watching OU Nightly. I'm Spencer Plato.
And I'm Darby McCormick. Big news coming from OU football after what some fans are calling the worst season in decades. OU football fired now former co-offensive coordinator Seth Latrell Sunday afternoon.
OU Nightly senior sports reporter Abby Williams is live outside of the stadium. Abby, this is something the OU Nightly sports team sensed could happen.
Yeah, Spencer, Darby, you could just tell Seth Latrell was down after the game on Saturday talking to reporters. And then 24 hours later, that's when the news broke. Brent Venables said in a press conference that he felt a change was needed, and now. I was at the game on Saturday. Here's what Latrell said in his final moments as an OU coach.
Most coaches that have been in this profession long enough, you're going to have some ups and downs. That's why when things are great, better humble yourself, and at the end of the day, it can go sideways real quick. Coaching's challenging. When you're having success or not, you know it's just right around the corner. You're a fine line away from, whether it's injuries, you're a fine line away from, the wrong locker room, the wrong character. I've seen a lot of different things over the years. We've had some real success. We've had some real failures. I've had, some failures as a coach, and so they're going to continue to work hard. I do know that.
Sooner fans knew something had to change. OU's offense is the worst in the SEC in total yards per game, and this is the second week in a row they haven't been able to score double digits. Now, Seth Latrell has seen success before on the coaching front as a head coach at North Texas for 6 years and assistant head coach at UNC. Now taking over the play calling duties is JoJon Finley, co-offensive coordinator and tight ends coach. Reporting from outside Oklahoma Family Memorial Stadium, Abby Williams, OU Nightly.
Thanks, Abby. OU fans are talking to OU Nightly about how they're feeling since Latrell was fired. OU Nightly's Olivia Hayes joins us live from Campus Corner. Olivia, what are people saying?
Yeah, Spencer, Darby, fans' reactions across the board are actually pretty similar. When I spoke with people right here today on Campus Corner, they tell me they're happy with Venables' decision, but they're not sure how much of a difference it'll actually make.
I love that move. I thought he was terrible at his job.
Yeah, he needed to go. It's unfortunate, but yeah.
After a tough loss to South Carolina on Saturday, most Sooner fans say something has got to give.
I think it's going to help the team. I think it's going to energize the team, and I think it's going to give the team a spark.
While many are happy Seth Latrell is out, they're still unsure if JoJon Finley can step up to the plate.
I think bringing in JoJon isn't much of an upgrade, but just for now, I think it'll work out.
Hopefully JoJon is just a placement holder for now.
Finley coming in with just 5 games left in the Sooner season, and not everyone is confident the move will be helpful.
It's kind of hard to get an offense going when you don't have any offensive linemen and receivers, and our tight ends are awful, and who's in charge of tight ends? JoJon Finley.
Now, Finley does have an extensive coaching past in college football, working previously at 4 schools in the SEC and Big 12. As for his history here at OU, Finley once wore that crimson and cream jersey. He also worked as a graduate assistant under Bob Stoops during his time as head coach. Reporting live from Campus Corner, Olivia Hayes, OU Nightly.
Thanks, Olivia. It's been pretty dry here in Norman, and it looks like it's going to stay that way.
Yeah, no showers for us here, but OU Nightly meteorologist Chloe Arroyo will tell you more on what to expect.
That's right, ladies. There's no chance for showers this afternoon here in the metro, but we are tracking a couple of showers just north and west of us. Our folks here in northwestern Oklahoma, they're seeing a couple of isolated showers and storms here and there. Again, none of which affecting the metro. Current temperatures in the 80s right now. We're sitting at 82 for Norman, Oklahoma City at 81. So we'll be across the board, similar setup across the state. So coming up in a bit, we're going to talk more about that future track when we could see a couple of showers later on tonight, as well as our record temperatures. We could be nearing that heading into this week. I'll have the forecast coming up.
Thanks, Chloe. Well, Oklahoma requests more funding for projects that really need the money. Gaylord News' Ireland Fitzer spoke with two city managers on what they're looking for.
The saying, money makes the world go round, rings true for Oklahoma when it needs pet projects funded. That's where Oklahoma's congressional delegation comes into the picture. Congressmen and senators lobby for a piece of the federal budget to be spent in their districts. It used to be called pork barrel, money spent in a congressman's district on popular projects that help him or her get reelected. Now it's called a nicer name, community project funding. Taking a look at some of the millions requested, a good portion is invested in transportation across Oklahoma. Over $37 million alone on one I-35 improvement.
The federal funding does is it lets us kind of spread that state level money around. It gives us opportunities to potentially accelerate a project or repurpose some funding from one project to another.
And in Enid, $20 million was requested to help with their solids plants that have been needing help with their clogging issues for some time now.
It's also the site of an old process, really two old processing plants that the city has used before since at least the 50s or before.
Now, most of the Oklahoma congressional delegation have put in requests for funds. Representatives Josh Burkeen and Kevin Hearn and Senator James Lankford have not. We have reached out to all the Oklahoma congressional delegations for a quote on these million-dollar projects requested and have heard nothing back. We will hear a go or a no on these projects sometime after the 2024 presidential election when Congress decides to discuss the 2025 budget. Reporting in Washington, D.C., Ireland Fitzer, Gaylord News.
Thanks, Ireland. 3 of the traffic stops are in place and in use, with one more on the way.
In Texas, state lawmakers are waiting to hear a death row inmate's testimony. OU Nightly's Taryn Ward is following this and the rest of today's national and international headlines from the News Center.
Spencer, death row inmate Robert Roberson was expected to testify today after he narrowly avoided execution last week. Debates on whether Roberson will appear virtually or in person have halted his testimony, as officials say that Roberson's autism makes virtual testimony inappropriate. Officials say this does not mean that Roberson will not testify. Roberson was found guilty in the murder of his 2-year-old daughter, but Roberson's attorneys claim she died from pneumonia. Early voting starts today in Texas, with over 18 million Texans registered to vote in the upcoming election. Besides the president, there's a number of important elections on the ballot. For U.S. Senate, incumbent Ted Cruz faces Democrat Colin Allred in a close race. Meanwhile, congressional seats are up for grabs across the state. In Cuba, millions are in the dark after much of the nation's power grid failed last week. Most Cubans have been out of power for 4 days, and some are taking to the streets to protest. As the island works to restore its power grid, a Category 1 hurricane hit eastern parts of the island Sunday. Cubans say they are unable to maintain fresh food and a steady supply of water. And dozens of frozen waffles sold at Walmart and Target are being recalled for potential Listeria contamination. Treehouse Foods urges customers to check their freezers for these products. Spencer, Darby.
Thanks, Taryn. Halloween is right around the corner.
And your favorite treats might be more expensive.
Plus, gas prices might see an increase.
All this coming up next in Money Matters.
Emma, did you hear?
Todd's in the hospital.
Who's Todd? He got a collapsed lung from vaping. He thought it was cool.
Not cool.
Promise you won't vape, Emma. It can lead to a lifelong addiction, and we can't be friends if your lungs collapse.
Bogus.
Wacky sitcom teens aren't the best people to talk to your kid about vaping.
Hey, you got a minute?
You are. Start the conversation with your child about vaping today.
Hear that? That's the sound of your life. Perfectly imperfect. But every time you drive after drinking, the music gets drowned out. Your life sounds pretty great. Don't let a buzz ruin it. Buzzed driving is drunk driving. Don't drive buzzed.
When we have the food we need, we are at our best. We push further. We rise higher. We unlock our full potential. When we have the food we need, we make our communities stronger. Together, we can help everyone get the food they need to thrive. Join the movement to end hunger at feedingamerica.org/actnow.
Water is our most precious resource and something that should be conserved and used wisely. Here are some water conservation tips you can try. In the kitchen, collect the excess water you use to rinse produce and use it to water houseplants. Also, soak your pots and pans instead of letting the water run while you scrape them. Water is life. This message was brought to you by the City of Norman.
Approaching trick-or-treaters may see less candy in their buckets thanks to cocoa prices. OU Nightly's Abby Hollingsworth has this story and more in today's Money Matters.
Cocoa prices are doubling according to Wells Fargo data. With the surging prices, companies are getting creative with their ways of coping with the lack of cocoa. Consumers can expect to see smaller candy bars and more non-chocolate treats on grocery aisle shelves. The Consumer Financial Protection Bureau says you shouldn't keep funds stored in payment apps like Venmo or Cash App. The CFPB warns people that these funds are often not insured, so immediately transfer your money to a bank. Experts also say leaving your money in these apps will mean losing out on interest from high-yield savings accounts. And financial experts say gas prices could rise in California after a Phillips 66 oil refinery announces its closing. The shutdown comes days after Governor Gavin Newsom signed legislation preventing gas price spikes. This law requires refineries to maintain a certain level of fuel on hand to avoid a sudden increase in gas prices. And following gas prices here in Oklahoma, prices at the pump have fallen 16 cents this past week, according to Gas Buddy. A gallon, $2.62. Nationally, it costs $3.13. Darby, Spencer.
Thanks, Abby. When OU Nightly returns, the Fall Blood Drive is here.
How you can give back to the community.
Plus, we're nearing record-breaking temperatures heading into this week. Stick around. I've got the full forecast coming up next.
Everyone has a ritual, that small thing that keeps us focused. A habit we never skip to clear our minds and elevate our performance.
But what do you do to keep your head in the game, to drown out the self-doubt and support your mental health? Because being your best isn't just about taking care of your body.
It's about taking care of your mind and mental health. Discover the resources you need to keep your mind focused and your mental health a priority.
Water is our most precious resource and something that should be conserved and used wisely. Here's a water conservation tip you can try. In the bathroom, if your shower can fill a 1-gallon bucket in less than 20 seconds, replace the shower head with a water-efficient one. They are cheap, easy to install, and can save you up to 750 gallons a month. Water is life. This message was brought to you by the City of Norman. Water is our most precious resource and something that should be conserved and used wisely. Here's a water conservation tip you can try. In the bathroom, turn off the water while you brush your teeth. You'll save about 4 gallons per minute. That comes out to about 200 gallons a week for a family of 4. Water is life. This message was brought to you by the City of Norman.
People couldn't see my potential, so I had to show them.
I've run this place for 20 years, but I still need to prove that I'm more than what you see on paper.
Today, I'm the CEO of my own company.
It's the way my mind works. I have a very mechanical brain.
Why are we not rethinking this?
I am more.
I'm more than
who I am on paper.
Well, that cooler weather last week didn't stick around for very long. This week, we're on an increasing trend once again with those temperatures. But first, there's a little bit of precipitation on the map, a little bit of rainfall just north of us, none of which is affecting the metro as of right now. Here's a look at your current radar. Northern Oklahoma, is seeing a couple of isolated showers here and there. Now, the severe threat is mainly for western Oklahoma, so not affecting any of the metro for severe weather. Now, above all, the greater picture of this, that low pressure system that's really causing this system right here is really over the Dakotas right now. But zooming in later on into tonight, could see a couple of isolated showers. We might not have enough moisture to support this, but if we do, later on tonight, pretty much after bedtime for many folks across central Oklahoma, could see a couple of showers and a little bit more cloud coverage associated with this system. But for the most part, we won't see anything that keeps us from seeing the drier conditions. That's one thing that we're going to see throughout the next week or so. Here's a look at the National Weather Service, this is right from the National Weather Service. This is looking directly south across Highway 9. 82 degrees right now, so we've been on the warmer side and the drier side as well. Now, we're also on the lookout for some potentially record highs. Here are forecasted temperatures: 88 the next 3 days, but our record highs 90, 92, and 91 degrees. So we're pretty close to those record high temperatures before we see a little bit of a cool down. Friday, 80 degrees, Saturday, 77 degrees, but it's not going to last long with those cooler temperatures. We're going to warm right back up into next week. Here's our temperature outlook, definitely above average the next week or two, but thankfully our precipitation outlook next week or two, we'll see a little bit more of the moisture enter into the picture. Possibly next week, not quite this week, will be pretty dry. Our fall foliage could really help from that, or benefit from the moisture that we could see throughout next week. So low right now, as of right now, we don't see a whole lot of fall foliage, but in the next couple of weeks, we could continue to see that peak. Here's a look at the rest of your forecast. Like I said, we'll cool down on Saturday. Once again, we're going to warm up heading into next week. Ladies.
Thanks, Chloe. You know, the fall weather might not be happening this week, but the fall blood drive is happening this week on the University of Oklahoma's campus. The blood drive kicked off today as students filled the ROTC Armory to give blood. Continuing through the week, students can make an appointment online and stop by to donate blood between 10 a.m. and 4 p.m. Some have very specific reasons to donate, others simply want to give back to the community.
Here I was like, I gotta do it. I gotta do it because it's an easy way to give back to people in the community or just in general.
Individuals who donate blood will also receive a free limited edition glow-in-the-dark t-shirt. Make sure to stop by this week. And while Seth Luttrell is out, but Joe Jon Finley is stepping up to make the Sooners play calls.
And it's definitely going to be a very interesting game against Ole Miss this Saturday.
Yeah, Darby, very, very interesting. The talks for next season's offensive coordinator replacement have already started as well. And former Sooners continue to show out in the pros. I'll have who and how next in sports.
How do you know when you've made the right decision? It's the feeling you get in your gut. The one that tells you what's right or wrong. It's the one that says, sure, I can have a drink. Or the feeling that says, okay, I've been drinking. Now what? It's the voice inside you that says, I'm buzzed. Better leave the car when it's time to go. Plan ahead. Catch a sober ride. Buzz driving is drunk driving.
Water is our most precious resource and something that should be conserved and used wisely. Here are some water conservation tips you can try. In the kitchen, collect the excess water you use to rinse produce and use it to water houseplants. Also, Soak your pots and pans instead of letting the water run while you scrape them. Water is life. This message was brought to you by the City of Norman. Did you know that trash, like plastic bottles and fast food wrappers, can carry germs and bacteria? When these items are tossed in the street, they eventually find their way to a river or lake and have a negative impact on aquatic life. Keep our waters clean by putting your trash in the bin. For more information, visit bit.ly/Norman Stormwater.
Tyler, and it's time for sports. And as mentioned earlier, Brent Venables announced on Sunday that the university has fired offensive coordinator Seth Littrell. Littrell was a captain on the 2000 national championship winning team. And Venables released the following statement on Littrell, quote, "He has a deep love for this university and football program. Despite that, our performance as an offense this season has not at all lived up to the OU standard, and I felt a change was necessary now." The offense ranked 128th of 133 nationally in total offense under Seth Littrell. OU Nightly's Abby Williams has a report on Littrell's final game coaching at OU.
There's another quarterback controversy in Norman. The Sooners started the game with Michael Hawkins Jr., but after 3 turnovers in the first 6 minutes of the game, it was Jackson Arnold who led the Sooners the rest of the way.
3 straight drives, turnovers, that's a pretty easy decision. What we put out there today as a football team is nothing remotely close to the standard here at the University of Oklahoma, certainly not what we planned for today.
And while Jackson Arnold is back on the field, he has a new perspective.
I felt a lot more free, don't have anything to lose. Just went out there, had fun with it, out there with my guys. I told Coach V that if things were going to continue to go like how they were, I didn't want to take, pointless snaps and burn a red shirt if it was there for me to keep.
Now OU falls to 4-3 and goes back on the road next weekend to Ole Miss. Reporting from Owen Field, Abby Williams, OU Nightly.
Thanks, Abby. The following names are thought to be possible replacements for Littrell. Brennan Marion played for Tulsa and has a unique offense that he created called the Go-Go offense, and it's averaging over 43 points a game. Zach Kitley runs the air raid that Mike Leach made famous, and OU has run under several OCs the past 2 decades. Mike Shanahan currently has the best offense in the country with Indiana. Ben Arbuckle is 15th in scoring offense with nearly 40 points a game, and Jeff Nixon has revived Syracuse's offense as they are 12th in total offense. But for now, Joe John Finley takes over as the offensive coordinator. Finley was a quarterback at Arlington High School and played tight end for OU from 2004 to 2008. And he was a graduate assistant under Bob Stoops. He has held roles at Baylor, Missouri, Texas A&M, and Ole Miss. And unlike OU, some former Sooners balled in the NFL on Sunday. Jalen Hurts had 136 total yards and 3 touchdowns on the Eagles' big day against the New York Giants. Philadelphia would fly by their NFC East rivals 28-3 to improve to 4-2 on the year. And over in Green Bay, Joe Mixon was mixing it up as he ran for 115 yards and scored Houston's only 2 touchdowns. But much like this Lambeau leap from Mixon, the Texans fell short, losing 24-22 to the Packers. But there's more Sooners to watch out for in the NFL. Baker Mayfield will face off against a familiar face tonight on Monday Night Football. Mayfield's Tampa Bay Buccaneers take on his former tight end at OU, Mark Andrews, and the Baltimore Ravens tonight at 7:15. But that's not all. Kyler Murray also plays as his Cardinals square off with the Los Angeles Chargers at 8 p.m. And football was not the only sport to lose to South Carolina. The Sooners volleyball squad fell to the Gamecocks in 4 sets on Sunday after reverse sweeping Georgia on Friday. And the OU women's soccer team lost 3-1 to Missouri. Spencer, Darby.
Thanks, Aiden. Coming up on OU Nightly, the National Weather Festival returns to Norman.
We'll tell you all the activities you can participate in next.
There are a lot of temptations facing young people today, like electronic cigarettes and skateboarding. Each vape pod can contain the same amount of nicotine as a pack of cigarettes. This can lead today's youth to a lifelong addiction and severe lung damage. Recall and consider the facts before making a poor decision.
The health class film guy isn't the best person to talk to your kid about vaping.
Got a few minutes?
You are. Start the conversation with your child about vaping today.
I'm an ex-drug dealer, and I'll be your sub today. 2 milligrams of fentanyl can be lethal. A lethal dose is in here. Who gets it, I won't know.
It's cheap, it's potent, and it's profitable.
The sad reality is fentanyl is being mixed into everything now.
More kids should know.
We said we'd never break the 3-second rule. Never do that. And never become a minivan mom.
Hey, Chris.
As parents, we say never a lot, but never happens. So when you say you'd never leave your child in a hot car, know it can happen. Before you leave the car, always stop, look, lock.
Emma, did you hear?
Todd's in the hospital.
Who's Todd? He got a collapsed lung from vaping. He thought it was cool.
Not cool.
Promise you won't vape, Emma. It can lead to a lifelong addiction, and we can't be friends if your lungs collapse.
Bogus.
Wacky sitcom teens aren't the best people to talk to your kid about vaping.
Hey, you got a minute?
You are. Start the conversation with your child about vaping today.
Kelsey Speed at the OU Nightly Update Desk. Today, the Board of Cleveland County Commissioners met to discuss Election Day security. This meeting comes less than 2 weeks after a Cleveland County resident is arrested in connection to an Election Day terrorist attack. Commissioners say they are unable to discuss the specifics, but say safety is their top priority. Early voting begins next week. Spencer, Darby.
Thanks, Kelsey. The National Weather Festival is rolling into town.
The event will have local TV meteorologists in attendance, hourly balloon releases, emergency response vehicles, and helicopters. The event is free and will be this Saturday from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. But we don't have to wait for the festival because we have our own TV meteorologist here in the studio. Chloe, what's it looking like this week?
Yeah, so I mean the rest of the week we're going to be pretty warm, but luckily we'll cool down just a little bit for the National Weather Festival on Saturday, high of 77 degrees. Thankfully, out of all days, that's a perfect day for it to cool down just a bit because a lot of the activities will be outside, including the local stations and their helicopters. A lot of people will be taking pictures out there and whatnot.
Yeah, are you going to be in attendance?
Of course, absolutely.
What are you looking forward to?
I love seeing the people there and all of the fun kids out there. You know, you also have a lot of candy out there, so you'll get your Halloween candy on.
Love some Halloween candy.
Yeah.
All right, well, thank you for watching OU Nightly. I'm Spencer Plato.
And I'm Darby McCormick. Be sure to watch OU Nightly live weekdays at 4:30. Good night.
Hate is loud. It gets clicks. It gets